All right, let's see. We've got several public comment cards. We'll start with Mr. Danni Garrett, representing the St. Tammany Parish School Board, proposes a recommendation, wishes to speak. Next up will be Superintendent Frank Jabbia, St. Tammany Parish Public School Board, proposes a recommendation, wishes to speak, and then next will be Ms. Court.
Mr. Chair, I know who I work for. I want the superintendent go first.
Yes, sir.
Members of the board, Frank Jabbia, Superintendent of Schools, St. Tammany Parish. I sent you a letter and also 3 attachments that explain why we were not in favor of Key Academy coming to St. Tammany. With that being said, again, I'm the superintendent. I thought it would be fair to look at the accountability and facts of the case so I could make an educated decision. In doing so, I had my students through the exceptionality team and my accountability team pull equal students with characteristics of dyslexia, and we reviewed those. And we compared those to how Key Academy did in 2018, 2019, and 2021. What we found was students of like characteristics in both places, we outscored Key Academy by more than double in 18, by more than double in 2019, and by more than triple in 2021. We know we not only do it well in St. Tammany, we do it better. And looking at everything that we had, I'm surrounded by an amazing group of teachers, interventionists, paras, instructional coaches, and students with exceptionality staff that do a tremendous job. And they deserve all the credit because they work very hard to meet the accommodations and to do what's right for the students of St. Tammany, and do it every day. The second point that I wanted to bring out was I came to you earlier, well, at the end of last year, to explain that the application was incomplete submitted by Key Academy. That did not come to our school board. It was incomplete. The assurance pages were not complete, so it didn't come forth. In review of the same materials, it was found after looking at it, as I explained to you before, this is the first charter school that has come before St. Tammany. This charter school applied for a Type 2 charter. St. Tammany Parish School Board does not have the right or the authority to even entertain a Type 2 charter. They did not apply for a Type 1, did not apply for a Type 3. We can't rule on students that don't attend St. Tammany Parish. We don't have that right or authority. With that being said, we could not even hear the case looking back at it. So I come to you with these facts. I provided you the information for you to take a look at with the accountability statistics that are there, and I hope you do so. And I appreciate you letting me speak before this board.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members, as the superintendent mentioned, you have reviewed the application that was submitted.
I know who you are.
Danny Garrett, represents St. Tammany Parish School Board. And I know there was a lot of discussion at the end of last year about, could they have done better about letting them fix a page or so forth like that. But if you will look at the application actually submitted, it is for a Type 2 charter school. There was never an application for a Type 1 or a Type 3. With all due respect, Mr. Day mentioned that it was an appeal from a rejection by a school board, but the statute says it has to be an appeal from the rejection for an application for a Type 1 or a Type 3. It's black letter in the statute. So I don't know that this Type 2 is properly before the board. Frankly, I was actually surprised because I didn't see the application initially. They sent me the application so that I could review what was discussed at your last meeting. And as soon as I opened the PDF, I looked at it, and it became absolutely apparent. And then if you look in depth at the application, it's not they just checked the wrong box. It was a proposal always for a school that would accept students from multiple parishes. A Type 1 or a Type 3 cannot accept students from multiple parishes. That would not have been within the St. Tammany School Board's authority. I don't know why they submitted it like this, but it doesn't follow your process and it doesn't follow the statutory process. Combine that with the fact that There's some amazing folks in St. Tammany who are actually, under your metric, utilizing the LEAP scores that y'all set forth. They are outperforming the group that's seeking to come in. There needs to be a reason to award a title. And it needs to follow the process. And I would urge that you reject this application.
Thank you, sir. Next up, any questions for these two gentlemen? All right, President Holloway.
I do while you're here. Thank you for being here and speaking. Ms. Davis, I may need your help, support in the question I am going to ask. In regards to the application process, I can tell you I have been working along those lines for 12+ years with charters and acts and what's necessary. And Ms. Davis, I'm almost certain that there is a policy that every district should have on their website the process of applying. Am I correct? Would you know the policy up front? I can't remember, but I do know when we applied for type 1 in a district in Lafourche, on the onset of this, the support was there from the superintendent with our community of people. And it was after that, and that was back in 2010, when I knew that in 2011, it was a requirement that the district had the process labeled along with the application on the website. Am I right, Ms. Davis? Did you have that opportunity on your site with the type 1 application form?
All I can tell you is that it's on our website, how to apply and how to go about that process.
Okay, and was that communicated to this particular charter?
It's not my job to communicate that to
It's
you.
not. Was
No,
there any communication?
They never contacted me, not one time. Had no idea they were applying. Had
And
no
when you
idea they were
received
coming
that
first.
application, I'm sure whoever's going to speak for Key will identify that. Was there at any time that you indicated to them that, hey, sorry, this is the wrong form, you may want to go back to the drawing board and recoup that?
Didn't know it was wrong form. It was the first charter I've ever gotten. Had no idea.
You didn't know that?
No, ma'am, did not.
Because I can
communicated
tell
that
you
to the board
with
last time.
our experience, the Lafourche superintendent worked hand in hand, a lot of communication, a lot of negotiation, and assisted us with that process. So, and whether or not they were going to approve or deny us, that was beyond the question. The question, I mean, our experience was there was a work in progress. I just wanted to get that clear from, I don't know where they got the type 2 form or, okay, I wanted that clarity.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Garrett.
Yeah, correct. Give it clarification. Mr. Jabbia, if I heard you correctly, you said that the type 1 form is on your website? Are you saying that it's...
Mr. Garvey, I'm saying the instructions on how to fill out, what is needed and the timeline, whatever the department requires is on our website.
Again, document that the applicant sent to me that said that they found this on the web, that St. Tammany School Board guidelines and required forms for submission of charter proposal. All charter school applicants, regardless of type being sought, at a minimum shall follow the guidelines and utilize all forms provided by the Louisiana Department of Education, which seems to indicate that you did not have it on your website. I could be wrong, but that's what they found, indicating that you were sending applicants to the department's website instead of having a type 1 application on your website. And like I said, I may be wrong, but that's what this would seem to indicate. And you're saying, just so I'm correct, that you did have a type 1 application form on your website at the time that this application was being filed?
That's not what I said.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking. So
What I said was, we follow what the department has asked us to put on our website, and we refer the applicants to wherever the department has told us to do.
So you did not have a type 1 form on your website?
Sir, I don't know. I really do not know that offhand what's on our website. I know what's on our website is set forth by our communication department and our CNI staff. Whatever the department requires us to have on our site is what's on our site.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
I would consider, Ms. Davis, if there is any policy that you can forward to the superintendent to make certain that is just a requirement of all districts, that everyone in this state is aware of the process
Yes,
and the
ma'am.
form.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I could, one of the interesting things about this particular circumstance is this is not some person who was foraying into their first effort to create a charter school. It's an organization that's already created. I believe they were a type 1 to start in EQR and then converted to a 2, if I'm not mistaken. Which I presume was the process they were looking to do here. So I can't imagine why someone who's already operated for years and knew that process would make an application for a type 2 to a school. Because they simply can't do it. I mean, the St. County School Board by law doesn't have the authority to grant a type 2 charter, which is what they requested. And, you know, as long as the school board has what is legally required to be on their website. Now, certainly the group could have reached out and said, look, we're unsure, what else do y'all need? But this was a tight timeline. They got this submission by email, I believe, on the Thursday before Easter. So they got back on the Monday after Easter, and they dealt with the first charter application they'd ever had. They noticed in going through their review that there was a page that had not been filled out. And there was communication back and forth with the charter department. I think we had the discussion last time we were here. When they forwarded it to me after that meeting to review, the first thing I noticed is that it was an application for a type 2, and it was, the application they made to them was to accept students from multiple parishes. I think the law requires that they first request a type 1, which limits student eligibility to the parish in which they're going to be located. Then, if that is rejected by the school board, then they come to y'all for an appeal for a type 2. I think that's how the statute plainly reads. I think it's how everyone else has done it. There's 4 pathways to get to that type 2, and I think they didn't exercise any of them. So, again, with all due respect, I don't think that they followed the process. I wish I would have been aware of it earlier. Maybe we could have left it there. I think they should have been, and I think they've already done. But thank you for letting me address it.
Mr. Mullin?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. Mr. Day, you might be able to help me with this. There's a lot of confusion, it seems, as to whether that form was on the website, where they got it from. Your appreciation. Whose responsibility is it to ensure that the form is accurate on the website? Is it the department's or is it the local LEA?
I would say that the local system is required to ask the same questions of the BESE approved, as the BESE approved application. Other than that, they have to follow our timeline, but outside of those requirements, the local system is responsible for setting and executing the rest of the process, including application forms. Again, we have to use the same common questions, application to application, but also I should note, like, if what happened is it didn't link to our application, because BESE can only authorize 2 4 5s, there's not going to be a box for one group.
Okay, so what you're saying is the department doesn't authorize type 1 charters, so y'all don't have a type 1 application on your website.
Correct.
So if it simply directed them to the LDOE website, and that was the only form they had, that would be what they were presented with.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have a question just for St. Tammany. At any point was this brought to their attention that, hey, you checked the wrong box?
And again, when I first saw first page, I saw immediately they had said it was a type 2. The question is not they checked the wrong box.
Well, you made a question, you made a point, so yes, it is. My question, you were brought in after the deadline. You were brought in after the deadline, correct?
I brought it, I looked at it, because there were a number of questions that were asked of the superintendent at the last meeting. One, I noticed they were applying for a 2. But then if you actually look at the application also reads as to. This was not checking the wrong box. The application, as submitted to the St. Tammany Parish School Board, is for a school that could accept students from statewide. It was submitted as a type 2, regardless of how you check off the box. You and I are both attorneys, we know that the judges don't look at what they put at the top of your memo, they look at what's in it, or your pleading. And same thing here. If they had just checked off 2, but the actual application was for a school that would be limited to St. Tammany Parish, I think your argument would be perfectly correct. It would have been a technical error. But this is not a technical error.
So let me interrupt you right there. You say it's not a technical error. However, the only application they were directed to was a type 2. It didn't have an option for a type 1. Would you agree with me? There was no option on that application for a type 1. Is that correct?
The requirements for a charter application are provided for in law.
You're not answering my question. My question is, that application, was there a box for them to type, if they were checked, if they wanted to be a type 1?
On this page, no.
Okay.
I'm assuming they got this from the department. But if you look at the application itself, it wasn't what they called it, it's what they were actually applying for.
Okay. That's my next question. Dr. Jabbia, at any point, did the St. Tammany Parish School Board direct them or identify to them, flag for them, there was an error, that, hey, you checked type 2, you're applying for type 2, we can't authorize this? Was that ever made or brought to their attention?
It wasn't brought to my attention.
Okay.
Something I don't know anything about.
I understand. My question is that we're not given the opportunity to correct, alter, update, make sure it was correct.
And then the application, and this was discussed on one of the last ones, the application was filed virtually on the deadline for application, which meant the application deadline had actually passed before the application was actually fully reviewed. So at that point, there is, I guess St. Tammany could have allowed them to go and rewrite their entire application after the deadline, because that's what they would have had to do. They would have not only had to change what box they checked, they would have actually had to restyle their entire proposal, because their proposal is for a regional school, not a school that only
Was that
St.
done?
Tammany, which would have had, that would have placed St. Tammany in the position of essentially extending this deadline to submit applications for type 1 and type 3 charters.
So let me ask you a question. What you're saying is the St. Tammany Parish School Board did not have a proper application on their website, so then they filled out the only application they had, and now St. Tammany went back and said, well, sorry, you didn't check the right box, so it's not our fault, it's yours.
No, sir.
So I'm sorry, I'm not following this because they weren't told, hey, this is an option. So they did what they had. It was not done up to their standards. Dr. Jabbia said he didn't know it. And my understanding is they were never told, hey, these are the deficiencies. They were never given the opportunity to correct the deficiencies. There was no action taken by the St. Tammany School Board. Is that correct?
The application initially was determined to have been effective because they didn't fill out basically a page of it.
Okay.
Then, in consultation with the state, they essentially had the opportunity to either let them go back and correct it or hold them to the deadline, because it is the applicant's responsibility to provide everything that's required. Now, on review, as it turns out, even had it gone to the school board would have had no choice but to have said no. And we would have been exactly where we are here today, because they would have made an application to a type 2 to a local school board, who would have had to say no, because if they said yes, they also have the authority to create a type 2, which means they would have appealed for a type 2. That seems to kind of turn the statutory law on its head. I think there is an obligation that in order to come to BESE for a 2, the applicant has to have made an application for a 1 or a 3. It turns out they did not do that. Okay? And again, this board has the discretion to vote how you vote. But we just wanted to point that out, in addition to pointing out that the accountability documentation in St. Tammany shows that they are currently doing a better job of educating students with dyslexia than the organization that's proposed.
All right, hold on a second. All right, got the gavel. Let me move this along. As much as I'm enjoying Mr. Nolan's cross-examination and Mr. Garrett, I do want to move along to Dr. Davis Dr. Bovee and President Holloway.
I have a question for you, Mr. Garrett, because you're, I think, being a stickler for the process, right? And that process matters. But BESE policy 306 of the charter guidelines clearly states that the school, the LEA, is supposed to make all forms required for submitting the application available on their website. And so for me, if we're going to be a stickler about process, if St. Tammany did not follow the process as well, right, then we are really in a quandary. Because the reason then that Key Academy did not follow the process, right, a reasonable explanation is that the forms were not made available for a type 1 on St. Tammany's website, which is required by our own policy 306, number 3.
I guess my response would be that, but that's not what they came to you and told you. They came to you and told you that they had applied, because the only way they can get to you under the statute is that they applied for a 1 or a 3 and it was rejected. That's simply not accurate. The actual application submitted is not in any way, under any reading, an application for a 1 or a 3. So, and with all due deference to the BESE rule, the statute is controlled. In other words, I'm not sure that BESE has the authority to extend its authority to issue a 2 beyond a 1 or a 3 that was rejected. Again, this is something I discovered after looking at it. They initially didn't move it forward because it was incomplete. And that was after consultation with the department. That was their decision as to whether or not they were going to extend the deadline and allow them, this applicant, to make modifications to their proposal since their initial proposal was in.
All right, Dr. Bovee.
So my comments were similar to Dr. Davis's about, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm glad I'm not after listening to all this. And I'm glad, I really like that there are some children in the audience today. It reminds me why I do this work. But I'm listening to all this. My conclusion, correct me if I'm wrong, is that St. Tammany puts an application on their website. They basically copied and pasted the state application that Louisiana Key Academy filled out, and it was copied from the state, so it wasn't exactly what it should have been. It should have been for a type 1. That's what I'm getting from this discussion. So that's not really Louisiana Key Academy's fault, based on my conclusion on what I've heard. Am I right, Mr. Miller? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. President Holloway, and then Ms. Orange Juice.
Yeah, I just need clarity. Mr. Danny, you kind of confused me sitting at the table because you represent all school boards.
I have many clients.
Okay, many hats. So the question is, where is the St. Tammany attorney? Is there a difference?
I mean, they have an attorney who handles litigation matters for them, that sort of thing. I have assisted them with government relations ever since 2013, and that's what this process is.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Superintendent, can you answer that? Yes, where's your attorney to help support?
My attorney is at the school board meeting right now. That is named a replacement school board member that resigned.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what, I'm sorry, Mr. Danny.
No problem.
All right, I said Ms. Orange Jones next, and then Mr. Garrett.
Sorry, it's just a technical question. Ms. Ellis and I have been sitting here. I don't think the site currently works, right? The link is currently broken right now. So if you try to get on the site, you cannot get on. You cannot actually, doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just trying to better understand just how that is possible. Like, how can you just speak to like how it is possible that even now the site, if you click on it, it doesn't go on.
I mean, you can copy the link and then take yourself somewhere, but maybe it's the building. Sometimes the building does things that we can't, we can't access.
I just pulled up the entire site.
Okay, well, and from your site, but from the site to the department. I think the concern was,
Did they actually come to a council meeting and were they actually denied?
No.
Okay. Why weren't they invited to a council meeting?
This question was asked last meeting because their application was deemed incomplete with the information we had at that point in time.
Okay.
So we didn't move that application forward.
And they didn't know that until after the deadline? Because you're saying they turned it in late. They turned it in, but the deadline had passed by the time you noticed?
They turned it in while the offices were closed on Thursday before Easter. We got back on Monday and started going through. And like I told everyone last time I was here, this is the absolute first charter school application that we've ever gotten in St. Tammany. I've been the superintendent for now this 14 months. I was relying on Ms. Baker and the department, and she guided me as much as she could. But we didn't have a third-party evaluator. We didn't know any of the process. We started from scratch as fast as we could. We tried to rely on the department and our council to tell us what we needed to do. No.
Ms. Holloway, since you asked, this is a learning moment too, I think, for everyone, because I did Google some other school boards at charter application web pages, and they all refer to the LDE website to use the common charter application. So they all have links, or the ones I looked at, have a link to that application. But what I am very concerned about is that links change and they expire as did here. And even if you do go to the department's website, it is a little difficult to find the correct application. And they do change annually. So I think districts should really, and we approve them annually, I think what districts should post is the actual application that they can get from us. Because links expire, and that's why we don't put links in your exec recs and all of your backup, is because if you go back in years down the road and you try to access it, it no longer works. So I think it's very important learning moment to not link the application to the department's website, but copy a PDF of that.
Chairman. All right, thank you, Mr. Garvey.
Yeah, I would like to start by saying that I think we're focusing on the wrong thing here. Superintendent Jabbia is saying that he determined that, or evaluated that the application was incomplete. The statute requires the school board to decide whether it is complete or incomplete. It's not the duty of the superintendent. The application should have been sent on to the school board and let the school board decide if it was complete or incomplete as the statute requires. Another issue, it was stated that St. Tammany did not know that type 2 was being applied for. I passed out a letter from St. Tammany, from the attorney for the academy, and I need to apologize to Superintendent Jabbia. When he was here last, I said that I thought that this letter was sent to him and that I would apologize if I was wrong. I was wrong, but I think the situation is even worse. This letter was addressed to the chairman of the school board. And it said that, basically what I just said, that it's the duty of the school board to rule on completeness or incompleteness. It cites the statute. It tells the chairman it's not the duty of the superintendent, it's the duty of the school board. It also says in there that he is applying for a type 1. So the school board was notified that what he wanted to apply for is a type 1. It's in the very first sentence, very second line of this letter, of the June 3rd letter. The June 3rd letter, if I understand it right, was sent a month or more before the deadline for the school boards to rule on these applications. So there was plenty of time for St. Tammany to have ruled on this. I think the deadline was in July, if I remember right, of that year. Sounds right, Mr. Day? Roughly. So they were aware in plenty of time to have done this, and they decided not to. apparently.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. We've touched on a lot of procedural questions. I'm wondering if we want to get to the substantive comments. Mr. Morris? Thank you, Mr. Garvey.
My question is short, Mr. Castillo. I haven't heard anything about the third-party evaluation. So there's no question here, do we fill out the right form or whatever, but apparently there was an independent third-party evaluation. Was that evaluation approved?
So, LAP submitted an application to St. Tammany on April 1st. St. Tammany determined that the application was not complete. The board did not take formal action on the application by July 16th, which was the deadline. So in response to the 2021 RFA, LAP submitted an application to us, to the LDE. We determined that the application was complete. We subjected the application to a full charter review process, including that third-party evaluation. So that is why we have a third-party evaluation recommendation for the school, but St. Tammany would not.
So let's see if I understand that right. So there was no independent third-party evaluation conducted by the LEA?
Correct.
Wow. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thank you, gentlemen. We have a number of comments for us. We have Representative Richard Nelson, who wishes to speak, supports the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I had about 6 hours to sit here and figure out what I was going to say, and it's changed the whole time. So I've been throwing off everyone, but I appreciate all your service. I know it's a public service, and you get paid probably about as much as I do, I'd imagine, so nothing, and as a volunteer, we do it for love. So I grew up in Mandeville. I represent Mandeville, parts of Madisonville, and parts of Covington, so basically the area where the school is going to go, supposedly. But I graduated from Mandeville High in the public school system. I have 2 kids currently that are not dyslexic, but are in the public school system there in Mandeville. This is not a question for me of public school, charter school, what's right or wrong. I think it's really just giving an option to the parents. And the parents that I've spoken to, the parents that have spoken to me are my constituents. They don't care about the process. They don't care about, what forms or boxes were checked. They care about their kids learning to read. And I think I don't have to tell you the importance of that, especially in Louisiana, where we have something like one out of 4 kids in 4th grade cannot read on level, right? So this is a huge problem with our state, it's a huge problem with our future. And that's what the parents care about, that's what I care about, that's why I'm here, and I've sat through 6 hours waiting to come and talk. So I think that this, and reviewing what Key Academy, I've met with them, I've talked to them about what they're about. I think that it's very important that we focus on these dyslexic students to give them those options available. And I think that at least in my 2nd grader, I can tell you that there's something more than just having a specialist to help them read. Because I can tell you my 2nd grader's math curriculum is about 10% arithmetic and about 90% reading. So I think it's very important that you have a school and a setting where those things are played out, where you can really focus on these children that really need to have extra help to help them succeed in all these subjects. And so with that, I'd ask you please to consider approving this, and I would say that the process, one way or the other, we should really focus on the kids. And I think it sounds like there's maybe some lawsuits being teed up with this, and I would say as a parent and a taxpayer, I would rather my money go to educate children than to pay lawyers, and so I hope we can all keep that in mind. So thank you very much.
Thank you, next we have Nancy Guzman, who supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Lee St. Philip also supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. If you would like to make your way up as well. And then Bryson Izipoli supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. If you'd like to make your way up as well. We'll start with Ms. Guzman.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Guzman, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am an educator with 47 years experience as a school principal and school turnaround specialist in 22 states. My grandson Gavin is a 2nd grade student at Honey Island Elementary School. He attended Cypress Cove Elementary for kindergarten and 1st grade. Gavin is dyslexic and I am his advocate. I flew here today from Charlotte, North Carolina through sleet, snow, ice, and rain to advocate for Gavin and for all dyslexic students in St. Tammany School District. In dealing with this district, I am convinced that this charter school is the only hope that dyslexia students have to receive the specialized instruction they need to learn in St. Tammany Parish. The St. Tammany School District is broken. Struggling readers are going unnoticed, unidentified, and undiagnosed. In securing the help that Gavin needed, I experienced numerous violations of federal and state special education laws. I experienced staff that treated these laws as optional suggestions and not as laws that protect the rights of students with disabilities. I have observed a district where educators put the needs of the system over the individual needs of children, where district staff stand in the way of doing what is in the best interest of children, and where educational neglect is commonplace. Working with hundreds of educators across the country, I can say that I have never worked with a district that has such blatant disregard for the education of struggling students. Nor have I experienced district administrators who work so hard to not do what is right for children. I want to comment on a statement the superintendent made, and I quote, "In St. Tammany, we address dyslexia across our school districts in all 55 schools, not just 1st through 8th. I have learned, and I am sorry to say, with my experience in dealing with this district the past 9 months, that dyslexia is not being addressed in all 55 schools. My grandson sat in classrooms in Cypress Cove Elementary for 3 years, including 2 years in kindergarten, and never received the specialized help that he needed to master early literacy skills. St. Tammany School District believes in the wait to fail model, where struggling readers are not identified until they have experienced prolonged reading failure. And like Gavin, too many times students are never identified. Interventions are consistently inconsistent. Many principals and teachers are not looking at data to identify struggling readers. The district refuses to use the word dyslexic when identifying students. IEPs are a one-size-fits-all model, and learning disabled students are being taught with a program, which is Project READ, that has proven to be ineffective with learning disabled students. Classroom teachers are not being trained to work with dyslexic students. The district has a one-size-fits-all model. All dyslexic students are funneled into the Project READ program. All are grouped together and all receive the exact same instruction, regardless of their unique learning needs. The district has a one-size-fits-all system that is damaging to all dyslexic students and is a serious violation of federal law. What Works Clearinghouse, a division of the U.S. Department of Education, I know, I could go on forever. Can anybody give me their minutes?
I'm sorry. Good try.
Well, can I end with one paragraph? Okay.
10 seconds.
Okay. It is unacceptable to watch another generation of students fail to achieve the outcomes that could have been achieved because the adults for their education would not commit to doing what is right and provide these students a school that embraces each child's diverse traits and aspirations. A school where dyslexic students can achieve a personalized, student-centered education that empowers them and gives them hope of living successful, independent lives. Because at the heart of all our efforts are the children that we serve and their futures. Thank you.
All right.
My name is Lee St. Philip and I am from St. Bernard. Dyslexia introduced itself to me through my second grade son who read only in his teacher's handwriting mysteriously. I never want another mother's seventh grader to question a community's traumatic hurricane memories late August yearly gives, as he confesses to her, school is my Katrina, which was his fate every school day he lived. I am the grandmother of a 7-year-old first grader who knowingly admitted at 5.5 she needed another kindergarten year to get smarter. Her private dyslexia diagnosis now will not be recognized unless failing grades are realized. At school, in class, they hold it all together. Defense is down at home, the scene is another. First grade, so soon, the point of no return, where every test in every subject is a reading test they learn. I am a teacher who graduated and greeted students without a clue if a child had a reading problem of what to do. 25 years pushing a population of second grade strugglers along, upper elementary and beyond revealed those for which phonics was not strong. An undreamt of early retirement became my reality. I embarked on my own dyslexia discovery. I am encouraged to become officially certified in the Orton-Gillingham way, which would be a delight, but presently life is busy qualifying me as I advocate on behalf of parents' plights and homeschool and tutor a dozen struggling readers throughout my days. Life is busy qualifying me as I advocate on behalf of parents' plights and homeschool and tutor a dozen struggling readers throughout my days and nights. Many of my students are placed in special ed, with all subjects allowed to them read. But pioneers and pupils should not have to hope, pray, and wait for the implementation of Act 108. Recent new challenges and restrictions have been far from at ease, yet as one student's mom expressed, the fear of my child not learning to read is bigger than that of disease. For the dyslexic population today, we wear red. We stand up for them and speak the words that need to be said. Thank you.
State your name, please.
Hi, my name is Bryson, and I'm from St. Bernard, Louisiana. I was taken out of public school this year and began being homeschooled because I had reading problems. My teacher had to put her attention on the whole entire class and did not have any time to help me one-on-one. My reading problem, I think, is a good idea to open a school for dyslexia because I have struggled with reading, spelling, and writing all my years in public school. I'm too old to go to the school, but I want to give other little kids the chance to make their reading ability more special. That way, my cousin who has dyslexia can have a better school experience than I did. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Kim Carver, then Nicole Albrecht, then Shirley Griswold. You'll be next if you want to start making your way up. Go right ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam President, BESE board members, Mr. Superintendent. It's good to see you all. Thank you for your public service. My name is Kim Carver. I'm from Mandeville, Louisiana. I serve as the Senior Vice President at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust in New Orleans. I serve on the North Shore Business Council, and I've worked with a number of you on education issues through serving as a board member of LSBA, GNO Inc., and the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. I'm before you today, however, as a dad of 3 beautiful girls, all in public schools in St. Tammany Parish. My youngest 2 daughters are diagnosed dyslexic, and that is why I'm here before you today, to urge your support for Key Academy's application to open a charter school in our parish. We are big fans of our public school system, and for the most part, we have had an ideal experience with the schools that my children have attended. One exception would be when my middle was struggling with what we viewed were obvious signs of dyslexia. Our girls, all adopted, have had very difficult starts in their young lives. And as a family, we have worked through many challenges, including academic ones. We held our middle daughter back a year to go through transitional first grade. In the second grade, we had meetings with the school committee to address some of her deficiencies that were leading to her growing further and further behind. And while we thought the evidence was pretty compelling, the committee wanted to try multiple interventions before having her tested. Our only option to avoid another 4 to 6 months delay was to have her tested privately at significant cost, which we did. Then came the pandemic, where we had more learning loss and no one from the system addressed interventions or learning plans for her. We are fortunate that we were able to afford for private tutoring, and her mom and I worked very hard with her. Advanced 2 years, and now we're in a new school, and we have just now, 2.5 years later, had a similar meeting. And the system is addressing her gaps in very small ways on the margins. But last week, we literally begged the committee to assign a 504 plan for her, so that as she progresses to larger schools, where her teachers may not be able to focus on her individual needs, that she will have the resources for success. She is bright, determined, and works really hard for B's and C's. But we have felt that because she is struggling and not failing, we are slipping. If you approve this charter request, it will give families of children like mine the option for a different strategy. While she will not benefit from it, as she'll be older than the grades that the school will launch with, I speak on behalf of families like mine, taxpayers and contributors to our parish and community. We want options. More options will improve outcomes, and I can understand why a system doesn't want more options around them. And maybe I understand why they would threaten to sue you if you approve a charter today for bright children who struggle to read. But that sounds like an adult-focused mission and not one that is focused on children. Thank you for your time today.
Chairman.
Yes.
I just want to take a minute to say that, one, I appreciate your advocating for children, but also I just want to put a plug in for Louisiana and that we all need to get a little more serious about adoption. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole Albrecht, and I am the mother of Braxton Sims, a 5th grader who now attends Louisiana Key Academy. Braxton was diagnosed with, as we've heard, characteristics of dyslexia because the schools don't like to give a diagnosis, because then they would actually have to do something about it. He was diagnosed with characteristics of dyslexia through his school in kindergarten. All of my children, now 19, 12, and 11, have attended Bonnie and Cole, including my husband, in fact. Bonnie and Cole is a great school, which is why we were so sad to have to leave. We are close with the faculty and all of the teachers, and I have volunteered there since my oldest was in kindergarten. They are an A-rated school, which Mr. Jabbia kindly pointed out. But even being one of those A-rated schools did not have the resources that, or the certified teachers in dyslexia to help my child, which is why we now drive to Baton Rouge. I was lucky enough to find out about it through LKA, through my son's private tutor, whom we paid for. So when I watched and sat last month at the school board meeting, when Louisiana Key Academy was presented to be built in St. Tammany Parish, I was shocked and appalled that Mr. Jabbia stated that we did not need this in our parish because our schools are A, B, and C rated. I do not remember ever receiving a call from Mr. Jabbia asking if I am happy with the services my dyslexic child has been receiving since kindergarten. I do not know how he would know if his students' needs are being met if he has not consulted or asked any of the parents who are actually dealing with it. In fact, I can tell you I would not choose to drive to Baton Rouge if I did not have to. The fact is that St. Tammany Parish, one of the parishes in the forefront of Louisiana, normally #1 in school districts, has been falling behind big time. I do not understand how our superintendent would fight against having more resources in their school district. He has even gone as far as to block certified dyslexia teachers in our district who currently teach at Bonnie Cole, for instance, from being able to use their certifications in these schools. As a social worker in St. Tammany Parish, I fight to help other families find resources, not prevent them from being able to get them, which is exactly what is happening here. There is an opportunity for children in St. Tammany Parish.
Thank you, but your time is up.
Can I finish with one thing?
One.
Okay. All I ask is that you provide the resources to every possible child, even the ones, even if it may only be one child needing the resource, that you do not prevent any child from having the resources they need to succeed, especially when it's based off of a grade of a school.
Thank you, Ms. Nicole.
Thank you. Thank y'all for your time.
Next, my guest is Ms. Debbie Griswold, and I will call Heather Verbrina. Verbrina, is close enough. And then have Emma Verbrina and Liam Verbrina, Elijah Verbrina. I'll call all the Verbrinas up. If you could take seats right behind Ms. Jody Griswold. Yes, Ms. Jody, you may begin. Identify yourself in the...
Jody Griswold. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of my students. I am an elementary school teacher with 27 years of experience in the classroom. And for 22 of those years, I've had the privilege of teaching first grade. One of the greatest joys of working with first graders is teaching them how to read. Today, I would like to speak to the subject of dyslexia. As many of you know, dyslexia is an unexpected difficulty in reading for an individual who has the intelligence to be a better reader. Scientific research has demonstrated that dyslexia affects 1 in 5 people and accounts for 80% of all learning disorders. The historic relevance of dyslexia begins with the first recorded case in 1896. Then in 1904, it was recognized as a need for schools to identify and establish appropriate teaching. Presently, we understand the crucial need for early identification and subsequent appropriate education. In order to provide for a free and appropriate education, one must understand the nature of dyslexia as a specific learning disability. Instruction must also be specific, systematic, and scientifically based. Certified academic language therapists are educators who have a deep understanding of dyslexia. They're specialists in their field. They understand the neurological processes of language acquisition and are equipped with the professional knowledge to service dyslexic individuals. As a teacher employed in St. Timothy Parish, I recommend that the Louisiana Key Academy be granted permission to service students in our parish, as our schools do not employ certified academic language therapists. I would also request that serious consideration be made to the future employment of certified academic language therapists in all public schools under IDEA. Dyslexia is both protected and federally funded per section 1401-30 Part B. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Griswold. All right, so we have Heather.
This is Emery Burberry.
Got it. Ms. Burberry, give us your name and you may share with us your public comments.
Hi, my name is Emery Burberry. Did you know that I used to stare at a page filled with words and all I could make out were just a bunch of letters? Did you know that at the same time I qualified for the gifted program, I was given 2 grade levels below my current grade? Did you know that I have spent the last 4 years doing therapy after a very long day of school? And did you know that my parents spent $1,400 a month on therapy for my brothers and I? These are just some of the personal and financial struggles my family and I have had to overcome over the last 4 years. I am asking you to support this new dyslexia school so other kids and parents don't have to go through these burdens like my family and I have. I would not be where I am today without the help of my therapist. Every dyslexia child deserves a therapist and a teacher who is qualified and trained the kids in the community. And I am asking you to please give those kids this opportunity that I was not offered. Dyslexia kids like me are smart and hardworking and wanting to learn how to read and write like every other kid our age. So please do this for our community. Thank you.
All right, which one next?
Okay,
All right, Mrs. Gloria, you are up next. Pull that microphone real close to you and far away.
Good afternoon. My name is William Burbank, and this is my twin brother Eli. We are in the second grade as much as we love our school and our teacher. We would love for you to pass the new dyslexic school for other kids like us.
Great. Eli, I think you're up now.
We would like to not have to do therapy before school every day. And we would like all of our teachers to be trained and to know exactly how our brain reads and writes. I would also like to be around other kids like me, so I don't feel dumb. So please pass this school so you can help kids like us do great things for our community.
Hi, my name is Heather Burbank, and I am the proud mother of these 3 kids and also 2 others at home. I have to say, once I asked them if any of them wanted to speak at this meeting, without hesitation, all 3 of them said yes. They are just as passionate about this issue as I am. I'm going to make this short and sweet and say, as a parent who has dealt with a dyslexic child for over the past 5 years in the public school system, and now going through it once again with my other 2 boys, our public schools are failing our dyslexic students. Currently, Project READ is the only intervention given to dyslexics. There are not only many flaws to this program, but it is also taught by the classroom teachers and not by certified therapists. I can promise you my daughter is not where she is today because she did Project READ in the classroom. It is all because of her therapist, which is an example of the type of teacher that would be working at the new Louisiana Key of North Shore. You have to realize that these are kids who range from average to extremely high intelligence. These dyslexic kids will be our future architects or work for NASA. They are worth investing in, and they will do something great for our community. But we have to be getting them the proper help and support starting at a young age. We have to prevent the high dropout rate for dyslexics. These brilliant kids deserve to be taught by certified and trained dyslexic teachers, and that is why I'm encouraging you today to please allow this school to pass. Thank you.
Next up, we have Anthony Oso, supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Alexander Suarez supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. And Amy Suarez. If you would make your way forward, please. Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. My name is Anthony Foto. Good evening. First, let me say thank you for staying engaged after this long day and hearing us out. I'm here on behalf of my son, Vincent, who's 6 years old and is dyslexic. And I, like our representative, sat here for 5 hours trying to think of the perfect 2 minutes. And I'm not going to say any of that. Here's what I'm going to say. My son goes to East Springs Elementary School. He's the third of our kids to go through that school. What I have to say is not an indictment on that school. We love the school. We love all of the teachers. They have been great to our family. But my son is on his second round through kindergarten. And every week he goes to the library with my wife and his two brothers, and he brings home a stack of books that he tells me in his words he is going to fake read. And we sit there at night while he turns the pages and makes up stories. He desperately wants to read. The St. Tammany Parish school system is great. I am one of 4 kids that went through it, and we all went on to have professional jobs. But these kids need something else. So we started to look in what our options were, and we saw schools like Louisiana Key Academy, where it is an immersive environment, where not only these teachers specialize in teaching these kids how to read in a special way, but every subject is brought forth to them with their dyslexia in mind. That is what they need, to not fall behind. I'm asking you when you vote, listen, as a parent, I know that there's rules for all of this stuff, and I get it, and there's a reason for it. I don't care what form these people filled out. I care that these people are here and they want to bring a school like this to my neighborhood to help my son really read those books that he brings home from the library. Please do the right thing. I know you will. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Amy Cuevas, and I'm from Covington, Louisiana, and my 11-year-old son, Alexander, here is dyslexic. Obviously, I'm speaking today in support of the Louisiana Key Academy, the proposed campus in St. Tammany Parish. Even though Alexander is now too old to attend Louisiana Key Academy, there is no doubt that had this been up for discussion 3 years ago, this is exactly where it would be. I, in fact, emailed all of you in October after watching the BESE meeting where Superintendent Jabbia stated that dyslexia was being properly handled in all 55 schools in St. Tammany Parish. This could not be further from the truth. In fact, by St. Tammany standards, Alexander is not even considered dyslexic, but we know he is from an outside evaluation that we had to pay greatly for. Alexander was diagnosed with dyslexia in 1st grade, and I naively assumed that St. Tammany Parish Public Schools would have a proper way to teach him to learn how to read. Sadly, I was very mistaken. It quickly became apparent that our options were to commute him an hour plus each way from either Louisiana Key in Baton Rouge or to the former 3D school in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Logistically, as 2 working parents and with another child, that was just not possible. So what we decided to do is keep him in St. Tammany and invest in him having dyslexia therapy every day after school. He did this for 3 years, 4 times a week, even through the summer. This cost him about 450 hours of his life that he will never get back, that he did not spend doing extracurricular activities or playing outside, which he greatly enjoys, and it cost us $10,500. If St. Tammany was properly addressing dyslexia, why would I have spent that money? I absolutely would much rather go on a vacation than spend that money on dyslexia therapy. However, it worked. Alexander is now a thriving 5th grader. He's still in public school. I myself am a graduate of St. Tammany Public Schools. I'm a big proponent of the public school system. But I will tell you, St. Tammany is failing dyslexic students. And I urge you to wholeheartedly support this charter. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alexander Cuevas and I have dyslexia. And this is why I think it would be a good idea to have a school for kids with dyslexia where I live in St. Tammany Parish. It would be a good idea to have a dyslexic school because it would help dyslexic kids ease in learning instead of throwing it all at you at once like it was in school for me. When my therapist taught me, she made it easy by teaching things to us piece by piece, and we repeated things over and over so it's easier to learn. For example, there's this one story called The Scope that I can still remember because we practiced it so many times. Another reason it'd be good to have a dyslexic school is because it would have been much easier for me not to have to go to therapy every day to learn to read. It made me sad when my friends would ask me if I could play after school and I'd have to tell them, no, I can only play on Fridays. We could have dyslexic therapy every day except Friday. Also, you're tired at the end of the day and it's not easy to focus on what you're supposed to be learning, and a lot of other kids who have dyslexia also have ADHD, which means we're cooped up for so much longer and we can't go outside and play and get our energy up. So if we had our own school, we could still play after school, and that would be much better for us. Also, it would be better to learn all of my subjects the way I learn instead of just learning reading this way. It could help kids learn math, social studies, and science the same way instead of learning the way other kids learn and then having to figure it out the way I learned. It would have been much easier to go to dyslexic school because I wouldn't have to worry about tests and I'd be confident that I understood the subject. This is why I think we should let the school come to St. Tammany Parish so dyslexic kids can get a better education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Marissa Marin, Angela Norman. And I think this is Tahisia Holiday, or Talicia. All right, you may start when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Marissa Marine. And I'm a proud mother of a dyslexic 8th grader who attends public school in St. Tammany. My daughter was fortunate enough to receive dyslexia therapy for 2 years, beginning at the age of 8. 2 years where she received therapy 4 hours a week after school and 3 hours a week during holiday and summer breaks. 2 years where she couldn't participate in any after-school activities because of the time spent in therapy. 2 years where she received therapy outside of school because it wasn't available to her at the public schools she attended. Students at Louisiana Key Academy receive daily dyslexia therapy, the same therapy that enabled my daughter to learn to read, that helped my daughter to achieve her current 3.6 GPA, and that recently earned her an invitation to the National Junior Honor Society. Not only did this therapy help her to be the successful student she is today, it has helped her be more confident in pursuing other passions. My daughter is currently a talented art student and a drum major for her junior high school band, and this year she was selected for both junior high district honor band and junior high district honor jazz band. I firmly believe that she would not be where she is today if it wasn't for the therapy that she received when she was younger. But unfortunately, there are many other students with dyslexia who do not have the financial resources to receive the same therapy my daughter experienced. And there are also families who have time constraints that prevent them from seeking therapy outside of regular school hours or that prevent them from bringing their children to the Baton Rouge location. All teachers at Louisiana Key Academy have a unique understanding of dyslexia because of the training that is required of them. Louisiana Key Academy caters to the dyslexic students throughout the entire school day. The students there don't just learn to read, but they also develop a love of learning. Currently, the schools in St. Tammany Parish do not have the same resources available, and they do not provide similar intervention throughout the entire school day that these students truly need. Due to her age, my daughter will be unable to attend this school, but I'm asking that you approve the charter for Louisiana Key Academy North Shore so that more students can receive the positive impact that this school delivers. Thank you for hearing me out, and I look forward to the day that all dyslexic students have an opportunity for a much better future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, I've been waiting on this time. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ty Holiday. I am the parent of a 5th grader, Zoe Ramirez, at Louisiana Key Academy here in Baton Rouge. Just a little backstory. We came from Zachary School District, which is number 1. And it's a great school district. But if your child has an issue, it's not. She had a really good teacher in preschool who also had a social worker in the classroom that identified something wasn't quite right with Zoe. So at that time, that's pre-K, so they're not going to test you for dyslexia. You don't have that. Those children don't have that opportunity. So when they did her evaluation, they said she had an expressive language disorder. So at that point, they did nothing. So I then had to drive her every Tuesday and every Thursday to the emergency center to get therapy. When she made it to kindergarten at Northwestern Elementary, they said, "Oh, you can't do that anymore because she's missing school time. So you're gonna have to let us do it." They gave her 30 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes twice a week, so 1 hour a week to get it, and she couldn't get it at that point. So I came across through a family friend telling me about it. Okay, I can't speak for everybody else, but I can only speak my truth. My child really didn't have an expressive language disorder. What she had was characteristics of dyslexia, because her IQ is very high, but she had issues with reading. But what Zachary told me is, we're gonna hold her back. I said, no, I don't want you to, don't even talk like that. I said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work with her. I got her tested for characteristics for dyslexia and LK. When she went to that school, she has a 4.0 average. They gave her self-esteem and confidence. She didn't have a voice. But by the time, and now she's in 5th grade, she started in 2nd grade, she blossomed. She has a voice. So LKA, I'm pretty sure there is a Zoe that's in the North Shore in that area. If these parents drive from Slidell, Covington, Hammond, this far, they're not driving that far for nothing. They're driving to give, because if we don't advocate for our kids, who will? So I implore y'all to let this charter school be in North Shore, because it's not only gonna help the kids, it's gonna help the parents, because they help the parents as well as the children. And it's gonna give them a voice and to be heard that they're cared for. Thank y'all so much for your time.
Is Ms. Norman here? Okay. Angela Johns? Ms. Johns? Right, Ms. Johns is not here. We have in opposition, Ms. Karanda Corley. Ms. Corley?
I have to tell everybody to calm down because they thought that I was in opposition. It should say that I want to speak to provide information. My name is Karanda Corley. I'm co-founder, co-director of BESE, Fairness, Accountability, Transparency, Equity, Excellence for individuals with disabilities. One of the things that I would like to bring up is, as a parent of a child with disability, I have faced what these parents are facing. Along with many other parents across this state, we have over 200,000 children with disabilities in our school systems as we speak today that are currently not receiving free appropriate public education because their needs are not being met, because IEPs are not individualized as they should. We have been giving these children templates. One of the things that I would recommend, because I see problems with it being a type 2 charter, and it's only because I don't see where it would allow the ability for mainstream. I know at LKA they do allow children to come in and they get diagnosed, but what about the children that don't have dyslexia, that actually have reading problems? Do we kick them out? We should not. Here's a friendly proposal. Ms. Rama, I know you're gonna love this. Have this school be a part of the special school district. The special school district embodies the school for the deaf and the school for the blind. This is a specialized school, just like them. It would allow our children with disabilities that have dyslexia, all children, whether it's a child that has multiple disabilities, such as autism and dyslexia, spinal bifida and dyslexia, to actually be able to go into this brick and mortar. Second, if that option is not going to like, allow it to be semi-private. LDOE provides funds for children with disabilities to actually be able to go to a semi-private school, a private school. And I don't think that a lot of parents are knowledgeable about that ability or that accommodation that the State Department of Education provides. These accommodations I'm asking for because Orleans Parish had a charter school that was all boys, and that school had to close. And it was because they were found in violation of the Civil Rights Act, because they were discriminating against other sexes. They were only allowing boys to attend. So, as a parent of a child with disability, I just only ask that we do not allow it to be only children with dyslexia, but children that may have some type of problem with reading in any other aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corley. Is Sharon Quaid and Colton Quaid?
Livingston Parish. We started coming to East Baton
Can you
Rouge.
turn your microphone back on, please?
I'm sorry.
You should have a green light.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sharon Quaid. I'm from Livingston Parish. We drive to East Baton Rouge because Livingston Parish failed to give my son an education. So I'm extremely thankful for Louisiana Key Academy and helping children, because children in Livingston Parish and all other parishes are being denied a public education because schools either don't have resources or they want to get children like my son out of school. They don't want to help them or they don't have the resources to help them. So I vote for y'all to please let Louisiana Key Academy go there. So children like hopefully can get help that he needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Colton?
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Colton Quaid. I think before going to Key Academy, I think I started in my 6th grade year, and ever since then, I think I should be, if it wasn't for Louisiana Key Academy, I would be in, I think, 7th grade, and I think for them I'm an 8th grader at Louisiana Key Academy. I'm in my last year here. And I think that it would benefit students everywhere if they had an opportunity like me and other students that are happy to be in Louisiana Key Academy. So they have an opportunity like everyone else to learn with how to combat their disabilities and to still learn how to read and even write and do other basic things with the disability. And they also help with other disabilities like dysgraphia, which is what I have. I struggle to write. My writing looks like scribble scratch. They let us, all of us, type on computers to help us with that. So they do a lot more than just dyslexia.
Right. Thank you. Thank you both. And the last public comment card I have on this is from Amy, I think it's a man, does not wish to speak but supports the recommendation. Dr. Davis.
I'd just like to say, as a political science professor, thank you so much for all of you who brought your children to speak, and I hope that it fosters in them a lifelong sense of political efficacy, which is a fancy way of saying that their voice matters. And I'd also like to say, I have a very narrow view of when charters are appropriate, and certainly this is one instance in which they are, and I'm happy to say that I was a community supporter, letter writer for the first Key Academy here in Baton Rouge.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. For those who have not, or who don't have a card, whatever.
I apologize. I apologize. I didn't know your process. I think we got them in, but
not a problem at all. They're right there on the paper. So go ahead and speak, give your name, but when you're done, just fill it out.
Sure, yeah, I'll be brief. Thank you for your time. My name is David McGehee. I'm here supporting the LA Key Academy North Shore. Just like so many other stories that you've heard, this has made it pretty simple for me. I was going to add the only thing that I didn't necessarily hear anybody talk about is our story. In all honesty, I was getting teared up listening to some of that, and it's challenging having a child with dyslexia. I'm here because I'm Audrey's daddy. I love her. There's a gap here, and frankly, I was offended listening to the first two guys talk about process and making the claim that they are doing better at educating these children when I can't get his school district to even admit my kid. I've seen the same thing in Texas where the public school system said, not going to help you. We moved here, got the same thing, not going to help you. We've been doing the therapy stuff all around there as well. And yeah, trying to keep my emotions in check, but and keep my words right. But yeah, that was interesting. The only thing I wanted to add in here, a little statistics, the only thing I hadn't heard. Dyslexia Center Utah estimates between 15 and 20% of the population has a form of language-based learning disability, and dyslexia is the most common. Using some basic census information for St. Tammany, that means there's probably about 11,000 children under the age of 18 that have some of this going on. That's a good number. Take that a little further. Another important consideration is 62% of non-readers end up dropping out of high school, which not only impacts their future, but theirs around them. Another fact, high school dropouts typically earn $260,000 less in their lifetime than high school graduates. So you want to take that economic impact and using some basic rough math and census information, for St. Tammany alone, that's probably $10 to $20 million of lost GDP opportunity per year. Pick the right numbers, right? But it's not just about, you know, if there's budget things, stuff like that, there's an economic impact. So I think everybody else covered other things. Our story is basically the same. I think you're getting plenty of data points here that are kind of repeating some of what you heard earlier. So my ask of you is use some common sense. There's been a lot between IDA, COVID, trying to get stuff, and it's just been barrier after barrier, and I'm begging you, please support this school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just go with that front, please. All right.
Hi, Kayla Reggio with Louisiana Key Academy and the Dyslexia Resource Center. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm really proud and humbled to represent Louisiana Key Academy and its affiliate, the Dyslexia Resource Center, and the important work that our team does to contribute to closing the action gap in dyslexia education. Louisiana Key Academy in Baton Rouge has been open for 9 years. Over the past 9 years, the school has grown to serve over 440 students in grades 1 through 8 and has touched hundreds of families' lives. All of our students came to us and were struggling at other schools in one way or another, and many of them were failing one or several classes, or even in jeopardy of failing their grade level. Our families were left looking for answers as to why their bright child just couldn't seem to learn to read as quickly as others. Many students' self-esteem is battered prior to finding LKA, as they are left feeling dumb or lazy with no answer as to why they struggle. LKA is different. We offer a full-day education for dyslexic students with teachers that complete a rigorous 2-year dyslexia therapy certification program. We offer a unique opportunity for families in our communities and surrounding areas. All of our students are identified as having moderate to severe dyslexia. We accept students in all grade levels up through 8th, despite the fact that many students come to us several grade levels behind. Because they are dyslexic, we know they are not smart readers, which leads to poor performance on standardized tests. In fact, standardized tests assess dyslexics' disability and not their true ability or knowledge of a subject. We can look to the many successful dyslexics, such as Toby Cosgrove, the former chief of the Cleveland Clinic, David Boyes, an esteemed lawyer, Richard Branson, and Charles Schwab. Many of them speak about their failure to achieve on standardized tests. Despite difficulties with standardized testing, all of our metrics align with the science of evidence of teaching dyslexic students to read, write, and flourish continue to show growth each year. We offer the families we serve, regardless of the severity of their dyslexia, hope for our future through dyslexia identification and evidence-based education, and to prepare them for college with accommodations in their self-esteem. We are excited for the opportunity to serve North Shore and the surrounding parishes and continue the work of serving the 1 in 5 children with dyslexia and their families.
All right, so someone's going to call the question because of all of the wonderful comments. You're welcome to comment, Dr. Cassidy, because I would not want to deny you the opportunity. But I'll offer you that.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Someone wants to call the question so that we can vote on the item. So I know you're going to make it short, but I just wanted to,
yes.
anyone else who might want to comment?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I'd like to call the question, only because there's been such rich testimony, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of, I don't think there's going to be a lot of divergence across this board on where we are right now, and so I just wanted to get to the vote, because I think the vote is likely there. So,
Yes, please. So the only thing I wanted to say was to thank the parents that came. And I think the testimony of the parents that you heard, those are the ones that have resources. And what we're really about is we test for free. We test you to have dyslexia, not characteristics of dyslexia. And the reporting from Act 419, which was just passed this year, is less than 1% of dyslexics are identified. So it's those kids that are struggling in school and they don't know why they're struggling. And so that's what our school is about. I'm sorry for all the mess up with the application. It was not on the website. We were directed to the department. We had discussions with the department through the whole process. And as you know from the last testimony, we were denied based on the error of DocuSign. We sent 2 certified letters by our lawyer with no response. So thank y'all. Hope you get home.
Thank you, Dr. Cassidy. Before we go to the vote, we just, as a housekeeping matter, Mr. Garvey, there are a few other folks that I just want to note for the record. Teresa Abram supports the recommendation. Braxton Sims supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. David McGee supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Andromeda Cartwright supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Heather Bourgeois supports the recommendation, but does not wish to speak. Mr. Garvey.
Yes, real quick. I wanted to let the people who came today know that I had a good bit of testimony left to deliver, but in light of Ms. Orange-Jones's motion or suggestion, I'm going to
All right, Ms. Boucher wants 10 seconds.
Okay, I promise I'll be brief. I think all families, including my own, have been affected by dyslexia and other types of learning disabilities. And I think at some point, we're looking at this one little microcosm, this one charter school that we are considering today. But I would hope, when we look at our assessment scores, and we're looking at struggling readers, and we're looking at that whole K-3, there are many, many more struggling readers out there throughout all of our schools. And we've got to, not only with dyslexia, but other forms of disabilities with our students. What can we do in school systems, even if we have to gather less than class sizes, and pinpoint some of these issues that we can put students together with those commonalities, because you can't do it in every classroom, in every school throughout our entire state. But if we can marshal our resources, even within school districts, if we are allowed, and sometimes with IDEA and some of the interpretations, it's very difficult to get that fine balance, where we can offer these programs, more of these types of things, not just to students with dyslexia, but to many of our students who have other disabilities who could profit from much more directed and research-based strategies, and we can accumulate them in little pockets.
Thank you. Ms. Morris?
Right, 10 seconds. Mr. President. Superintendent. Okay. Superintendent, I try to follow the process, and your folks have responded really well with regard to the release of the literacy screener RFP. And I know that's a work in progress. But given, all the heartwarming testimony that we've heard today and the impact, across the student population, I'd just like to request some time with your staff to review that RFP. And my specific concern is how that screener, how that RFP is going to address the identification of dyslexia. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Morris. Seeing no more questions, and the question has been called, any objections to the motion? Seeing here no objection to the motion passes. Last. Congratulations.
The final recommendation for this item is to deny the Type 2 charter application submitted for Vermillion Charter Academy, operated by Vermillion Charter Foundation.
The recommendation is to deny. Is there a motion?